Welcome to Full Court Tennis Advantage. I'm your host, Brian Teacher, former world number 7 and Australian Open champ and founder of the Full Court Tennis app. Today's episode is a comprehensive deep dive into one of the most critical and controversial topics in American tennis, and that is the role of the USPTA in player and coach development. Are they helping or hindering our future? That's the question. Are they empowering coaches or building an unsustainable bureaucracy? We'll go through it all. So the USPTA has made some bold announcements. Lou Scher, their CEO, claims they're not just promoting tennis, but using it to inspire healthy communities. Over $800 million has been pledged to facility upgrades and a new player performance center. Brian Vahelli, the USPTA's chairman, says they aim to certify 80,000 coaches. That's a lot considering there's only 25 to 30,000 today. And Craig Morris, who leads community tennis, says their focus is on access and growth. On paper, it sounds great, like real momentum. But what's happening on the ground might be telling a different story. My goal here today is not to point fingers, but to start a conversation and offer my opinions of 50 years plus of seeing the USPTA, hearing from my buddies that have been involved with the USPTA, and of course, reading online publications. So what's really happening? Well, Wayne Bryan, father of the Bryan brothers, said it plainly. The USPTA is a top-down, authoritarian, and often takes credit for players they didn't develop. Regional coaches like Chuck and Steve Roof and veterans like Rob Spencer describe inefficiency, territorialism, and a system that ignores coaching merit. Elliot Terricher, one of my peers that played on the tour with me, and he was a former top 6 in the world and head of player development for the USPTA, says the system is too centralized and plagued by too much bureaucracy that does not support local coaches. They all point to the same themes: lack of collaboration, a disregard for private coaches, and an overemphasis on controlling players and processes. The result is mediocre development pipelines and missed potential. So are the reforms the USPTA is talking about real or just PR? The USPTA leadership points to participation stats of 25.7 million Americans playing tennis with expanded grants and inclusivity efforts, but those numbers don't tell us about the quality of development at the highest levels. And today we have fewer American men in the top 100 than most countries with a fraction of our resources. Today, 13 out of the top 100 men in the ATP are from the U.S. When I was playing, we had as high as 45 out of the top 100, and that was in the early 80s. And critics like former ATP top 10 player Tim Mayotte, who I played with, say the USPTA doesn't mentor, it manages. There's no open dialogue about coaching methodology. There's no deep listening to the field. There's a disconnect between the national strategy versus the grassroots reality. While Vahelli says coaches are the heartbeat of tennis, coaches in the trenches tell a different story. Sectional coaches are underfunded, misaligned with national directives, and often disconnected with local needs. Grants come with restrictive strings. Parents and coaches feel trapped. They accept help and lose autonomy. The USPTA still acts like it owns the player, the path, and the credit. Let's look now at USPTA's outsourced credential problem, and let's be clear first. The USPTA doesn't directly certify coaches. Instead, they accredit organizations like the RSPA and the PTR. And here's the real issue. Level 1 certification is often a weekend course and a multiple choice test, and that's it. There's no national mentorship requirement, no shadowing, no mandatory recertification, no real accountability. Compare that to countries like Spain or Australia, and it's not even close. Spain and Australia really have what's the gold standard systems. They follow International Tennis Federation, ITF gold level standards. Their coaching pathway is rigorous, 4 tiers of advancement that include written exam, hundreds of hours of practical on-court training, real mentoring, continuing education, and recertification every 4 years. These countries don't just hand out certificates, they track development. They build coaching cultures, and they treat the journey from red ball to pro as a profession, not a box to check. In the United States, we've built a credential factory, not a coaching development system. Wayne Bryan says it's a broken credential mill, Tim Mayotte says it's a culture of avoidance, and Jose Higueras, who was once at the heart of the USDA player development, says the money goes to buildings, not mentors. There's no game-based learning, no tracked outcomes, no long-term data on coach effectiveness. We hand out clipboards and certificates, but we're not building great coaches. So what does a better system look like? Well, number one, the USTA must create its own gold standard certification model. Number two, certification should include mentorship, practical evaluation, and recertification. Number three, build a national coaching registry that tracks progress and success. And four, open the process to audits, feedback, and transparency. It's not enough to grow participation. We need to grow excellence. That requires infrastructure around people, not just places. So if the USTA is truly serious about building world-class players, the work starts with coaching. You don't build champions through slogans or grants. You do it by educating, elevating, and empowering the best coaches from the grassroots to the elite. The U.S. does not lack talent. It lacks coaching, accountability, and systematic vision. We can fix it, but only if we get real about what's broken. That's why I created Full Court Tennis app and website to bring analysis, feedback, and elite coaching tools to players everywhere. Whether you're a young player or a seasoned coach, our platform helps you break down strokes, compare yourself to the pros, and get analysis and feedback on your matches so you can fix the problem and get to the next level. Visit fullcourttennis.com or download the app to connect with a global community of coaches and players. Let's raise the standard together. Thanks for listening. I'm Brian Teacher. See you next time on Full Court Tennis Advantage.